Prophet Habakkuk had a clear sense and understanding of who God was. That's why in chapter 1 verse 12 he confesses like this, "Are you not from everlasting, O Lord my God, my Holy One? We shall not die. O Lord, you have appointed them for judgment, O Rock, you have marked them for correction." Prophet Habakkuk knew how God works and how he governs. And he knew that his judgment is unavoidable and it will come to an end. He knew that the Israelites had to face this judgment, and he knew that the Babylonian Empire was prepared by the Lord, and the attack of the Babylons were also God's will. And he had this understanding, clear understanding of how God governs this world. God is the righteous judge, and he is the righteousness itself. But at the same time, he is always ready to give mercy and grace through Messiah the Christ to those who are seeking. That's why in chapter 3, verse 2, Habakkuk prayed like that. "In wrath, please remember your mercy." That's how he prayed. And we are born-again Christians, and we are the ones who receive this mercy in the midst of that wrath. In that horrible cross, Christ died. Christ was crying out to the Lord, "Why have you forsaken me? Why have you forsaken me?" And Christ died on the cross because of the wrath of God. However, in the midst of that wrath on the cross, that was the moment of our salvation. That was the moment of God's merciful hand coming upon us. So we need to pray like how Habakkuk did, as a people who discovered who God is. God is the one who never forgets to be merciful on his people, even in the midst of the wrath. That is who God is. We will see this wicked people living prosperous life, and we may feel sometimes that born-again Christians are going through a lot of losses, and the situation will grow worse and worse day by day. However, ultimately, we are God's children, and we are under his merciful hand, whereas the world is under his wrath and his judgment. That's why we are able to pray before God to be merciful on us, because we know that he will answer to our prayer. Even in this wicked world, he will find us, he will see us, and he will be merciful on us. And that is the truth, the fundamental part of the truth that Prophet Habakkuk found and experienced in his life. And if you see chapter 3 from verse 10, it is a war situation. Babylonian Empire, they're invading the land of Israel, and they're killing people. People are screaming. There's spears and arrows flying, chariots running. Habakkuk himself might die too. And that is the situation where he was at. He was witnessing the fall of his nation. And he was looking at the soldiers coming towards him and his people. But in that situation, he knew and he had this faith that God is with him and God is with his people. The same goes for us. We see this world growing more wicked, and we receive more rejections, and there's more sufferings and hardships, and there are so many criminals, so many disasters, wars and rumors, and it will get worse and worse day by day. However, Christ is with us. Even in the wrath, he remembers mercy. He gave us his only begotten Son. Why would he hesitate to give everything else to us? So although this world will face his judgment and his wrath, we will rejoice in his merciful hand. Prophet Habakkuk is praying, "Though the fig tree may not blossom, nor fruit be on the vines, though the labor of the olive may fail, and the fields yield no food, though the flock may be cut off from the fold, and there be no herd in the stalls," and even in that situation, yet Habakkuk was able to rejoice in the Lord, and rejoice in the God of his salvation. And that has to be our prayer topic too. When we see the things around us, everything is going worse and worse. We cannot expect for something better. And I lost a lot too on the way. People who I loved, or people who loved me, a lot of them left me, a lot of them passed away, and the situations will never change. However, we need to rejoice in the Lord and rejoice in the God of my salvation, because even in that bad situation, He always gives us grace upon grace. And that is the blessing as a born-again Christians. He gave us the only begotten Son, and why would He hesitate to give everything else for us?